Welcome to Trojan Sports Now. I'm Jahmal Kennedy.
And I'm Rachael Wilkerson. Stick around as we bring you the latest news and scores from Troy Athletics. The men's basketball team opened their weekend up with a trip down to the Bayou and came away with a victory in Lafayette. The men beat the Cajuns 100-88. This win was the first victory for the Trojans against UL since February 2, 2013, and the first win in the Cajun Dome since February 26, 2009. Jordan Bernardo had a career high of 31 points. He was 8 for 14 from the field and 15 for 18 from the free throw line. Jeremy Holloman also had 25 points off the bench. The Cajuns didn't go down without a fight, though. Jay Wright had 26 points and 7 three-pointers that would cut the lead down to 6. And despite the pressure, the Trojans kept cool by sinking free throws down the stretch. The Trojans outscored Lafayette in bench points 31-6. 25 came from senior Jeremy Holloman.
And Monday night, the men's basketball team wrapped up their Louisiana swing in Monroe, and it was a thriller with the Trojans coming out on top. 73-72 overtime victory that came down to the final few plays to give the Trojans the win. Juan Davis hit a huge three-pointer to put the Trojans up 64-61 with just 46 seconds to play in regulation. But the Warhawks would make a shot that would tie up the game with 26 seconds to go. And let's go to the extra period, the first overtime game of the season for the Trojans, and things didn't look so good after a jumper was money from ULM's Travis Munnings that gave the Warhawks a 72-70 advantage. 22 seconds is enough time to bake something right, because that's how much time Troy had coming out of a timeout to make some shake. Patty cake, Kevin Baker had the ball in his hand. He baked up a cake that tasted like a win. Baker broke the hearts of Warhawks fans everywhere, draining a three from deep to give the Trojans a 1-point advantage with just 3 seconds to play. One last heave from ULM fell just short of the rim, and Troy escaped with the 73-72 victory. Head coach Phil Cunningham wraps up Monday night's action.
So we had to try to convince our guys that they're just as good as anybody in the league, regardless of their record. And they jumped on us early, and we just hung around in the first half, and then it just went back and forth in the second half, got into overtime, and fortunately Kevin Baker made a huge three to win the game.
Sophomore sensation Jordan Bernardo recorded his 4th double-double of the season, posting 23 points and 13 boards.
And following his hot weekend in Louisiana, Jordan Bernardo was named the Sun Belt Player of the Week. The sophomore forward from Brownsville, Tennessee, has already had an impressive resume. He started in 30 of his 31 games as a freshman and scored the second most number of points on the season at 409. As a sophomore, he hasn't slowed down. Bernardo has been averaging 15.9 points and 7 rebounds per game. It was Saturday's matchup versus Louisiana Lafayette that really put him over the top. In that game, Jordan was responsible for 31 of the 100 points Troy scored, making 57.1% of his shots. Head coach Phil Cunningham talks about the development of his player.
He probably took his best step in terms of practice effort and consistency than he's had since he's been here, and I think it definitely affected his play on Saturday and Monday. So he's at the close of his sophomore year. He's got a lot of responsibility on his team, so a lot of expectation goes with that. And I thought for the first time he really stepped up and met those expectations.
Bernardo will look to stay hot ahead of this weekend's competition.
The women's basketball team went down to the Bayou on Saturday to face off against the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. The Trojans fell short of victory against the Cajuns, losing 72-80. UL shot for 61% from the field, which is the highest against the Trojans in more than a decade. The Cajuns would shoot 29 for 47 from the field, and Kayla Ramirez didn't score her first basket until the 4th quarter, but she still finished with 16 points and 9 rebounds. Clarissa Banks had 14 points of her own, and the Trojans fought back in the 4th quarter to eventually cut the lead down to 8. Though the Trojans fell in battle, they still managed to outscore Lafayette in second chance points 24-2.
Thursday night, the Trojans returned home for a clash with the Mountaineers of App State. The Trojans were also looking to get their groove back. Jahmal Kennedy has the baseline highlights from Trojan Arena.
The women's basketball team improved to 10-3 in conference play and improved to 8-2 at home following a much-anticipated matchup against Appalachian State Thursday night.
Well, we've been looking forward to this game for quite some time now because this team plays so similar to us, but we knew kind of like the team that could make the most shots, that were hitting shots, had a good chance of winning this game.
The Trojans pulled out the 86-77 victory, and it was one that both Coach Rigby and senior forward Kayla Ramirez both knew the team needed.
our hearts were so broken from that last loss that, I was a little bit concerned about that, getting back up. But, our team, they believe they're winners. They believe that losing is something we did, not who we are.
It's definitely something that we needed because, we got to get back on our streak. We're not being very consistent with our winning streak as of right now. So that's something that we got to pick up and get back on, get higher numbers on the winning side, and that's something that we got to do one at a time.
The Trojans fell behind early on, trailing by 2 points at the end of the first quarter, but turned up their defensive focus as the game went on.
The main thing I'm proud of in this game is a half-court defense at times. That's a great improvement for us because as coaches, we sit there and scratch our head and say, can we really get a stop in the half-court? We've really been working on it, and it really looked a lot better at times tonight.
Senior guard Jayla Chills recorded a career-high 27 points from the starting lineup, but it was another senior off the bench that provided the big shots that Troy needed.
Well, they were clutch points because it seemed like they were at pivotal moments that it could have gone either way. Maybe the other team was about to take the lead, and then she would come down and hit a quick three. They were pivotal and clutch shots, just like at the end. Jayla Chills hit very clutch shots at the end.
Jahmal Kennedy, Trojan Sports Now.
The dynamic duo of Chills and Ramirez combined for a pair of perfect nights. Chills went a perfect 4 for 4 from 3, and Ramirez hit all 7 of her free throw shots.
The Trojan softball team wrapped up their tournament in Boca Raton, Florida in a big way last Sunday. But first, last Saturday, the Trojans split their matches, losing to Michigan State 9-4, but defeating North Carolina State 5-3. And now to Sunday, where the Trojans wrapped up with Bethune-Cookman and the Trojans cooked the Wildcats. The Trojans took an early 1-0 lead over Bethune-Cookman after a Becca Harley sac fly scored Jordan Gray. Both teams had cold bats until the middle innings when Bethune-Cookman tied the game. And then in the 5th inning, the Wildcats scored 3 runs playing team ball and taking a 3-run lead into the bottom half of the inning. But that's where it would end. A pair of Trojans collaborated on 3-run homers after a pair of runs had already scored. With 2 runners on, Becca Harley sent a ball into orbit that eventually landed over the outfield wall for a 3-run homer. Then in the 6th, with 2 more runners on base, Jordan Gray stepped in and helped herself to a 3-run smash, giving the Trojans their final 3 runs. Senior Rachael got the win after she re-entered the game due to a Claire Graves injury. The Trojans left with a 3-2 record and returned home to host back-to-back weekend tournaments.
Last weekend, the women's track and field team wrapped up their indoor season, and the Trojans wrapped up in a big way. The weekend was highlighted by some top performances that director Mark Davis details.
It went pretty well. I think we're in a good position going into our championship. We have a young team, so we have no idea what's going to happen when you put them out there. I think some great things can happen. It's just a matter of getting everybody to come together and do what they need to do on those 2 days that we need the competition.
The Trojans overall had 7 top 8 finishes and 6 were 5th or higher.
While the men's basketball team conquered teams abroad, back on the home turf, or home court I should say, the men's tennis team made their home debut at the Lunsford Tennis Complex against North Florida, and it was everything but sweet. The Trojans dropped to 2-6 on the season after losing 4-1 to the Ospreys. The Ospreys swooped in and captured 2 of the 3 doubles matches played on Monday. The only doubles pairing for the Trojans to come out victorious was the pair of Pablo Marino and Mustafa Belcora. The 2 defeated North Florida's Zach Goldberg and Sahil Deshmukh 6-2 in the singles competitions. Hassan Daishmeh was the lone Trojan to win his singles competition, defeating the number 62nd ranked player Jefta Kusic 6-2 in straight sets. Another of the opponents Troy faced in competition was nationally ranked. North Florida's Jack Findle Hawkins was ranked the number 74 singles player in the country.
Still to come on Trojan Sports Now, we'll have a preview of the Trojan women's basketball team's Play for K matchup against Coastal Carolina.
But first, I sit down with Troy softball sophomore pitcher Claire Graves. Stick around for more Trojan Sports Now.